What's up, y'all? Kirk Warner here. Today we're talking about hamstrings. We're talking about why they get weak, why it contributes to knee pain, and I'm going to show you some stuff that you can do to figure out if your hamstrings are weak and what to do about it. So let's dig into it. All right, so if you are anxious and want to figure out if your hamstrings are weak and what to do about it, skip forward a little bit because I'm going to talk for a second about why this pops up. First of all, this is a really important thing for me currently, and was actually the reason that I wanted to do this video, is because I currently am dealing with some weak hamstrings because I have not been paying attention to them. So a lot of the stuff you're going to be seeing today is stuff that I am currently working on my own. So just to start the conversation about why this pops up, what we're seeing in weak hamstrings in runners is a couple different things. One, and this is my case, quad dominance. If you're quad dominant, you tend to rely on your quads to stabilize and move your knee. And obviously running has a lot to do with your knee. So if you are constantly just using your quads to help kind of stabilize and move your knee, your hamstrings are just going to kind of tune out and start to atrophy and just not really be on board to help out when they need to. So that's a quad dominant story. And then there's also the story of inactive glutes, which could be caused by weak hip flexors or inactive hip flexors, whatever. If your glutes are weak or inactive, what tends to happen is that your hamstrings overwork. So the glutes and the hamstrings work together in a healthy kind of person to pull the leg back, to stabilize the knee, etc. So if your butt is turned off, your hamstrings have to do the lion's share of the work, and that's not normally their position. So they get fatigued and just won't really be there to help you out when you need them. So same story. And this generally pops up with knee pain or high hamstring issues. So if you've had either of those, which most of us have, it's a probably good sign that you should be checking out the health of your hamstrings. So today what we're going to talk about is why you ended up on YouTube watching a dude in his kitchen with his beautiful sunflowers, and how you can figure out how your hamstrings are weak or inactive. We're going to talk about some exercises that you can do at home to start to combat that, and we're going to dig into our diagnosis and kind of check out our hamstrings right now. Okay, so to test your hamstrings, this is the way that I found out. I found out because one was weaker than the other one, and then I realized that they were both just weak in general. But the test is going to be a single leg bridge. I'm going to start the conversation with a two-legged bridge to make sure we know what we're doing. What we look to do, sorry if the mic gets a little muffled, you're going to pull your heels kind of right underneath your knees. You're going to lay your head back. Hands are going to go flat on the ground. I'm going to take my hat off. What you're going to do for a two-legged bridge is you're going to push your hips up towards the sky by squeezing your butt and your quads and your hamstrings. You should feel your hamstrings when you do this. Okay, so start out with maybe a 30-second hold here just to kind of get warm and check it out. And then to try it on a single leg, all you're going to do is I like to start with my two, and then I'm going to lift one foot. And now I try to hold this for 30 seconds. And just be really honest with yourself. Remember what it feels like to do this side for 30 seconds, and then take a break. Try to really remember what it feels like. And then same thing, but on the other leg. And if one of them feels like way easier than the other one, for you to keep your hips up like this and avoid sagging down, that's a good sign that there's some sort of imbalance. And if 30 seconds in general with both of them is hard, it's a good sign that they're probably weak as well. So just be really honest with yourself there. It's not offensive to have weak hamstrings. You're just doing this test to check out which one needs more love, if there's an imbalance, and if they're just generally weak as a whole. So again, that's a 30-second hold on each leg. If you can manage 30 seconds, try out 45 and see if 45 seconds changes the game a lot. I think you should be able to do like 45 seconds to 60 seconds as a good kind of test. So if that test was hard, use that as your exercise to start to work yourself into strengthening these guys. Again, that's just going to be a two-legged bridge. See if you can do that for 30 seconds. Try it on a single leg for 30 seconds each side. Do that for like 3 sets, and that could really get you down the path towards waking your hamstrings up and strengthening them before we start doing any sort of motion with them as well. So start there, then we'll go into exercise 2 right now. For exercise 2, we're going to do hamstring curls. I have a bucket top, okay? These are very cheap. I got this at Home Depot. It's a good investment if you have weak hamstrings, but if you don't have or want to get one of these and you have a hardwood floor and socks, you can do this on the hardwood floor with your socks as well. I am on a brick patio, so I'm going to use this. But what we're going to do is we're going to stay in that same kind of position that we were just in that glute bridge, but we're going to introduce some motion here. So what we look to do, I'm going to put my feet on top of the bucket. I'm going to put my hands by my side. I'm going to bridge up. And now what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to start to extend my knees so I can push this out, okay, until I fully extend and pull it back in. So what you'll notice there is that I kept my hips off the ground the whole time. Now that's the hardest way to do it on 2 legs. If you can't quite do that yet, what you can do is focus on just slowly lowering your hips as you go out and then slowly rising them up as you come back. This is a motion you want to do really smoothly. So going like this doesn't really do much for you. So try to be really smooth with it. So that's the first kind of level to that, is you're going to try to keep your hips up, slowly extend out, slowly pull back in. You should be able to do 12 of those in a row. And if you can't do that with 12 with your hips off the ground, try maybe 8 with your hips off the ground. And if hips off the ground the whole time is too hard, do the one where you're just going to slowly let your hips come to the ground and slowly bring them back up as you go through. Okay, so if you thought 2 legs was easy, the natural progression is going to be doing it on 1. So, same deal. I am going to start in the same position. I'm going to bridge up. I'm going to bring 1 foot out. I'm going to slowly extend out and slowly extend in. It's hard. Okay, so again, what we look to do, I'll switch to the other side so you can see a little better. What we look to do is we're going to keep our hips off the ground as we fully extend away from us and fully pull it back in underneath us. And the slower and more controlled you do it, the better, okay? So in the same kind of realm, you can also start to work your way from the 2-leg version to the 1-leg version by letting your hips come to the ground as you come out and slowly pull them back up as you come back in. And we'll stay on the same rep scheme. You're going to try and do 12 on each. Wow. Yeah. You're going to try and do 12 on each foot, okay? There's no real time demand, but 12 in a row on each leg. If you can't do 12, drop down to 8. And if you can't do 8 with your hips off the ground, use the method where you're going to let your hips come to the ground as you extend out. Lift them off the ground as you pull your knee back underneath you. So some things to consider when you're doing those hamstring curls is that cramping is a sign that your hamstrings aren't functioning super well. If you do one and you get like a huge Charlie horse in your hamstring, it's a good sign that kind of the brain-body communication is not super there and super strong. So play that into your kind of consideration if you feel like your hamstrings are super strong and this is stupid and it's isolating your hamstrings so much that it's cramping. You should be able to do this without any sort of cramping. So when you go through those, avoid cramping. Of course, I don't want you to cramp, but what you want to try to do is choose the most difficult thing that you can while avoiding cramping. So have fun with your hamstring curls. Guys, I hope you found this video helpful and it can start to give you tools to master your running once again and get your hamstrings super dialed and make yourself that kind of bulletproof runner you want to be. If you liked it and it helped you and it's something that you want to start doing, let me know by clicking the like button below. And if you have any questions for me, hit me up in the comments and I'll get back to you there. And let us all know at the Run Experience that you love us by clicking the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. We have a ton of stuff coming, so we will see you in the next video.